packed in the hospital emergency, and this guy was being wheeled out of the ambulance. There was a hearse driving out of the hospital, and this guy who was being wheeled out of the ambulance said, "I thank God, at least I am alive." The only person who couldn't thank God was the guy who was in the hearse, because it was over for him. And so today, for the next few minutes, I want us to look at the aspect of thanksgiving as a believer. We are talking about thanksgiving this evening. So, who is supposed to give thanks to God? According to 1 Thessalonians chapter 5, verse 18, we are all supposed to give thanks. We are supposed to give thanks. No matter the circumstances, there is always something to give thanks for and to give thanks to God. Now, thanksgiving, let me start by defining. Thanksgiving is acknowledgement of God's hand in our lives. We thank God for what he has done. That you can find in Psalm chapter 9, verse 1. For who he is, because of his character, and for what we anticipate. Meaning, what we are looking forward for God to do in our lives. And so even when he has not done it, and we are praying, we have a reason to thank him. So imagine there's no reason why we cannot thank God. Even when we are still praying and looking forward to what God is going to do, we are supposed to give thanks. And that is called faith. Okay, now, the reason I came up with this principle, it is a biblical principle of giving thanks in anticipation of what God is going to do. It is because Jesus himself modeled it. If you look at the story of 5 loaves and 2 fish, Jesus did not ask God to multiply what he had. He had a crowd of 5,000 men plus women and children. Meaning, they might have been triple that number, because we know anywhere Jesus is spoken of or preached, the majority are women and children. Sindio? And so being told that there were 5,000 men, it means there were more people. And when Jesus was given that insufficient meal, to say it, or the little that he was given, lunch of one small boy, the first thing he did was to give thanks. And when he gave thanks, there was multiplication. And so it would seem like Jesus was modeling thanksgiving for us as a kingdom principle for multiplication. When we want God to multiply what we have to start with thanksgiving. Doesn't matter how insufficient it may be or how meager it looks, thanksgiving will multiply what we have. And in John chapter 11, verse 41 to 43, Jesus gave thanks. And in this scenario, it was at a tomb. Someone was dead. Why would Jesus give thanks when it seemed like death had its way? Jesus knew the secret, because after he gave thanks, he called to Lazarus in the tomb, and Lazarus came out. And so even when it seems like it is still impossible, or it looks like it is over, we can still give thanks. And God will do what only he can do when we give thanks. Because you know what? Thanks is a password into God's presence. The psalmist in, I think, Psalm 100 verse 4 said, I will enter his gates with thanksgiving and praise. Thanksgiving, I tend to believe, is intertwined with praise. They go together. If you are a thankful person, you will be able to praise. But if you are prone to murmuring and grumbling and complaining, then it becomes very, very hard to find anything to give thanks for or anything to praise about. Even when there are many, many reasons to give praise or to give thanks. A good example is the children of Israel. God did so much for them. They could have been immersed in praise and thanksgiving for what God had done for them in the past. But all they saw was what they left in Egypt. They didn't see what God had done for them, even the night before and going forward, even before they were released. God was already working in their lives, but they were prone to complaining and murmuring and grumbling. And the sad part is, when we fail to recognize the importance of thanksgiving, then we are not able to go very far. I know we are all scholars of the Bible here, and we know that all the people who complained and grumbled and murmured in the desert, they never made it to the promised land. Because without thanksgiving, then we are not able to recognize who God is, and we are not able to give him what is due to him, which is praise and worship and glorifying him. Another good example in the Bible is, I'll use two. One who praised and gave thanks, and one who did not. And those two examples are two wonderful women in the Bible. The first one is Rachel. Rachel, she she prayed. And God gave Rachel a son. And that son, Rachel called her Joseph. Let me tell you this. Rachel did not give thanks